Cop Talk is brought to you by Good Greek Moving and Storage, your total relocation solution.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. I'm Kevin Schroeder, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Captain Ed Mehmet. Say hello, Captain.
Hello, WABC listeners. Here we are with another interesting guest. I hope everybody enjoys him.
So today's guest on Cop Talk is Bruce Blakeman. Bruce is the Nassau County Executive. He was elected in 2021. He was also a Port Authority Commissioner, Nassau County Legislator, and also Town of Hempstead Councilman. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your service.
Thanks for giving us some of your time. I know you're a very, very busy man. With that said, what was your inspiration for the Emergency Deputy Sheriff's Program? If you could tell us your inspiration on that.
Well, I have a background in Homeland Security Management. Right after September 11th, I was the Commissioner of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and I was appointed Vice Chair of their Security Committee, which oversaw all Homeland Security and law enforcement issues in the Port Authority. So basically, I went back to school, got a certificate in Homeland Security Management. I've attended lectures. I've given lectures at places like the Naval Institute, Georgetown University. And the one thing that I learned more than anything else is planning is essential. And training is essential, and drilling is essential if you are going to protect the homeland. And I have the power as county executive in emergency to appoint special deputies. So what I did was, I'm not waiting for an emergency. I realized that the best thing to do would be to create a database, or a list, if you will, of people who were willing to serve and people who were qualified to serve. And that's all I'm doing. I'm not appointing anybody with any powers whatsoever. They would not have powers unless there was an emergency declared. And that would only be in the type of emergency where I've already asked for all hands on deck from our law enforcement, our great police department, and our great sheriff's department, and our Office of Emergency Management, and all of our volunteer firefighters and EMTs who do a great job here in Nassau County. But if I called for all hands on deck and we still needed additional help, that is a power that I would exercise. And rather than scramble at the last minute and appoint people who haven't been vetted, what I did was I created this database, this list. They are primarily former law enforcement, NYPD, Nassau County Police Department, military police. They're military veterans, EMTs. And this database is something that I would use only in the event if there was an emergency, but they are pre-vetted. They've had background checks, both with the Sheriff's Department and the Nassau County Police Department. They are retrained in the penal laws and on use of deadly force, and they would be retrained on firearms at our range. So it was a prudent thing to do. It's a smart thing to do. But unfortunately, those on the far left, which is probably most of our legislators here in the Democratic Party, they started saying that it would be a vigilante, that it would be a militia. They even went so far as to call it brown shirts. Brown shirts were the Nazi stormtroopers. I take great offense to that. I think that that is something that is absolutely disgraceful, to think that people who served in the NYPD, people who served in Nassau County Police Department, people who served in our military, who are willing to volunteer their time in the event of emergency, to call them stormtroopers. I think it's disgusting.
I agree. Captain?
Bruce, your idea is great because there's precedent for it, and I'm somewhat of an expert on it, so I'd like to call to your attention that during World War II, there was a group called the Police Reserve, which were civilians, men who were not called up for military service, who were there to help the police department in the event of an emergency, because the department had lost many men to the military, and they were shorthanded. But more recently, right after 9/11, and I like to take somewhat credit for this, a group of us retirees said to the PD in New York, why don't we have a reserve group for retirees? And the department went for it, and it was called RMP, Retirees Mobilization Plan. And the acronym RMP goes back to the 1930s when radios were first installed in police cars. They were called radio motor patrol cars. So the acronym RMP was a cliche. And to show you how active it was, I'm going to show you what we were given. Can you see this?
Yes.
We were given these vests. We were given a kit, and in the kit was this vest with we got special flashlights, whistles, a lot of other things, and we attended regular training courses at police headquarters. And the big question that came up from the retirees: what about liability? Would we be covered if we were deployed? And that was kicked around for a while. And they said, yes, you would be covered, similar to the auxiliary police that already existed in the police department. So the program went along for about 2 or 3 years, and then it fell into disuse. I believe that should never have happened. And now, with what's going on in the world, it should be reinstituted. And if you
we're doing the same exact thing with the vests, with the kits, exactly what you did with the RMPs. And by the way, in Nassau County, we still call our vehicles RMPs, but we're doing the same exact thing.
Well, if you'd like me to be a consultant, I'd be glad to do it free of charge.
Well, I'd love to, Captain. I appreciate that. Yes, I'll take you up on that.
Good. Okay.
Hey, it's the Good Greek Spiro, and I have some exciting news. Good Greek has been awarded National Mover of the Year. You've trusted the Good Greek for decades with your family's moving and storage needs. Now Good Greek is proud to be the nation's top mover. So when it's time for you to move across town or across the country, trust America's best mover, Good Greek. Go to goodgreek.com for Good Greek, the National Mover of the Year.
Good Greek Moving and Storage, your superhero movers.
Now, what about standards and requirements for that you would create?
Well, there's a priority that'll be given to law enforcement, to military, and to licensed private investigators and licensed armed security guards. Because we want people who this isn't their first time in some kind of military or law enforcement type of organization. And we want people who've been trained before. So basically, we're just retraining them. They have to go through an extensive class on the penal law, use of deadly force, things like that, de-escalation, and also firearms training. And they'll be fully vetted. And again, they're just going to go on a list. They have no powers unless they're activated. So again, people on the far left, and this is the lunatic fringe that's opposing this. Most people in most communities have told me what a great idea, because as we've seen in Superstorm Sandy, what we saw up in Buffalo, when their city was closed down for weeks, you can have all hands on deck and not have enough people. And again, these individuals would probably or primarily be used for infrastructure, such as guarding hospitals, government buildings, utilities, churches, mosques, synagogues. That's primarily what they would be used for. They wouldn't be out on patrol. They wouldn't interfere with our local law enforcement.
Well, in the New York City case, it was broken down to specialty. For example, I spent most of my career in a detective bureau. So when we filled out the applications, we were asked where we worked in a department and what we knew best. And so if there was an activation, I would have been assigned to some detective unit to assist, probably with clerical work and reports. But the program did allow for people on patrol who are in patrol to actually go out in the street and maybe direct traffic or do things like that. So I thought it was a great program. And as I say, you could probably model yours very much after ours.
Yeah, absolutely. And after 9/11, in the days and weeks following 9/11, the New York City Police Department is the largest police department in the world. They have over 30,000 sworn officers. They're a small army. They didn't have enough people after 9/11. They called in the state troopers. They called in the National Guard. They called in the Nassau County Police Department. I remember going to the United Nations shortly after 9/11, and Nassau County police officers were guarding the United Nations. So if the NYPD, with their 30,000 plus sworn officers, got caught shorthanded in an emergency, that could happen to any agency. My number one job is keeping Nassau County safe. And we've got a great police commissioner, Pat Ryder, a great sheriff, Anthony LaRocco, and we work very, very hard to keep our community safe. And again, we were just creating a database, but the lunatic left, anything involving guns sets their hair on fire, even when it's law enforcement or military veterans.
Well, there are no guns involved in this program, right? But this could serve as a model. What you do could serve as a model for other towns and cities and villages around the country. So I wish you the best on it. As I said before, I'd be glad to assist.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
How would you get people to sign up?
Well, we already went through our first wave. We got approximately 100 people on a list. We've vetted 25 so far. We've cleared 25 that are eligible for service. They passed their background checks, and we've started a school already. And we've put through 6 individuals through the school so far, and they're going for their firearms training, and then they will go on the permanent provisional special deputies list.
I just want to remind you. You must check out with your legal people the liability issue, because I'm sure that when you have a meeting with these people that you've listed, that question is going to come up.
Yes, we did check with our legal department. These individuals would be indemnified against any actions that they took in the course of their service. And they've all signed a waiver that if they were personally injured, they would not sue the county.
We had to do the same thing. That's
Exactly.
interesting. Kev?
Bruce, what makes this program distinct from the plan that's already in place for Nassau County?
Well, basically, there's nothing that we're adding other than we're pre-vetting people, which is incredibly important. We're doing the background checks so that the people that we appoint are solid citizens, and that we're training them in advance. I don't want to wait till an emergency. Let's use Superstorm Sandy. We didn't have enough police officers and firefighters and EMTs during Superstorm Sandy for obvious reasons, and it was a terrible situation. These are, citizens who live in the community who could be mobilized on a moment's notice. So basically, they're available on the list if there should be an emergency.
Right. Is it possible this could be a plan that could model for other counties and small towns and cities?
Yeah, well, everywhere in New York State, either the sheriff or the county executive or the mayor, depending on the municipality, has the ability to, in an emergency, appoint special deputies. So this is nothing new. It's been on the books for over 100 years. What I'm doing, I think, could be a model, because all I'm doing is creating a database or a list of people that are pre-qualified and have expressed a willingness to serve. So rather than scramble in an emergency, we have a list already prepared. So I think it's prudent. I think that's how you plan for emergency events. The planning and training for emergency events is critical to any operation, and we do that very seriously here in Nassau County.
I like it. You like it, Cap?
I like it.
Yeah.
You'd have to also develop, I guess you've done it, but just to remind us, some means of notification to all these retirees, because they're going to be off the regular police frequencies. So you might have to get them special beepers or something to alert them that there's a mobilization taking place.
Yes. Well, we are getting them all of the materials that they would need to be successful.
So, Bruce, how's the migrant situation in Nassau County?
Well, we don't have a migrant situation in Nassau County because we are not a sanctuary county. I declared as soon as I got into office that we would not be a sanctuary county. There have been attempts to have a migrant program in Nassau County. We rejected those. But we do have fallout from the migrant program in New York City because we have people who are in the migrant program in New York City who want to come over here in Nassau County and commit crimes. So we are very vigilant. We do a lot of intel work, and I've increased patrols. I have 20 roaming police cars in addition to what we had before in the precincts. I've hired 200 new police officers. I've hired more corrections officers, probation officers. I'm about to hire more deputy sheriffs. So we are the opposite of defunding the police in Nassau County. We are superfunding the police in Nassau County because the people of Nassau County expect a safe community, and I'm going to make sure that we deliver that.
Well, you have a great police commissioner out there, Pat Ryder, and a great police department out there. How's crime out in Nassau County these days?
We're doing a great job. When you look at our statistics compared to other big counties in the United States, we're, if not the safest, one of the safest large counties in the United States. But you don't rest on your laurels. And certainly, as we know, that if you don't deter criminals from coming into your county, it makes law enforcement more difficult. So we are increasing patrols. We're increasing our intelligence capabilities. We work with our federal partners very closely. And we are very tough on crime here in Nassau County, unlike a lot of the other parts of New York State.
Exactly. I agree. You know, Detective Jonathan Diller, who was killed in the line of duty, the funeral and wake, as you know, was in Massapequa Park, which is Nassau County, correct? And
Correct.
I was at the funeral, and you guys did a great job. I mean, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Police Department did a great job to make that be as best can a nice send-off for Detective Diller and his family.
Well, thank you. I spoke with Commissioner Caban of the NYPD, and we told them, look, whatever you guys need, we'll have them. I even got directly involved with respect to all the planning for the funeral, to the extent that I wanted to make sure that those who were coming out would be comfortable. So I bought in over 30 porta potties because I knew that there would be a lot of people on the street, a lot of law enforcement from around the metropolitan area, and quite frankly from around the country who came to the funeral. I wanted to make sure that they had proper restroom facilities. We had all of our businesses mobilized. They were giving away free water and free coffee, and they were opening up their restaurants and their service stations and their businesses for additional restrooms that would be needed. Because we had over 10,000 law enforcement from around the region and around the country that came to Jonathan Diller's funeral. And it was an incredibly sad event on the one hand, but it was also a real credit to the men and women who serve in law enforcement. They gave him a final farewell, the likes I've never seen. We had, again, over 10,000 police officers who came to pay their last respects.
Yes, the residents, as you just mentioned, the residents also in Nassau County, in Massapequa Park, they were fantastic. I mean, they were letting people park in their driveways. They were handing out water, breakfast, sandwiches. I mean, it was unbelievable, the response that we received from Massapequa Park residents and small businesses. Unbelievable. It was very, very nice.
They were terrific. Massapequa Park is a very wonderful community. They're patriotic, and they love the men and women in blue. And also, President Trump made a special trip just to come to the wake. And he came to the wake the day before. And it was very gratifying to see him take time out of his schedule. And I know he came to New York only for that purpose. He was here for an hour and a half and then went round trip back to Florida where he had an event that evening. So the men and women in blue were happy to see President Trump.
Yes, I agree.
I know it was a comfort to the family as well.
Yes, it was. For law enforcement, actually, throughout the country as well.
Right.
Bruce, Congressman King, Peter King lives in your area, right? Massapequa?
No, he lives in Seaford, but he does live in Nassau County, and he's a dear friend.
Oh, I thought his office, isn't his office in Massapequa?
His office was in Massapequa Park, you're correct, but he lives in Seaford, the next town over.
Oh, well, his father was in charge of physical education training in the police department when I was a rookie cop, and he taught us how to box. So Peter has an interesting law enforcement background. And when I met him, I told him, I said, you look just like your father. His father was a big, husky guy, and he was terrific. So we're good friends of Peter's.
Pete's still a boxer.
Yes, I know.
He still works out. And as a matter of fact, I hired him as a consultant, a Homeland Security consultant for Nassau County. Think about it. He served many years in Congress, but also he was the first chair of the Homeland Security Committee that was established as a cabinet-level department by President George W. Bush. So when you think about all of the experience that he has, when he left Congress, I asked him if he would join our team, and he participates in all of our Homeland Security training. So to have somebody of his caliber is something that is a real plus for our community.
Hey, it's the Good Greek Spiro, and I have some exciting news. Good Greek has been awarded National Mover of the Year. You've trusted the Good Greek for decades with your family's moving and storage needs. Now Good Greek is proud to be the nation's top mover. So when it's time for you to move across town or across the country, trust America's best mover, Good Greek. Go to goodgreek.com for Good Greek, the National Mover of the Year.
Good Greek moving and storage. Your superhero movers.
This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/real ID or visit your local DMV.
Well, to segue into that, I'm on the board of directors of a fraternal police organization, and we actually gave him an award because of his work with Homeland Security and his dedication to law enforcement. So he's a great guy. What I want to ask you, what are your future political plans?
Well, I believe that I'm inclined to run for re-election. So that's something that I'll be focusing on. I'll make my final decision probably in February. So I think that I will run for re-election, but I'm not going to make a definite decision until February because I want to consider, my family and my situation, and at that point I'll decide whether to run for re-election. But I'm certainly leaning in that direction. I'd say I'm 90% of the way there. This is a county that has almost 1.5 million people. We're larger than 10 states in population, and it's a big responsibility. And there's a lot of things that I'm doing, and there's a lot of things that I want to get done. And I'll probably need another few years to be able to do that. So my inclination is to run for re-election, but I'll make that decision in February.
Good. Bruce, this coming Saturday, April 20th, and it's almost like the Stanley Cup, right? It's the NYPD hockey team playing the FDNY hockey team. And I'm representing, as you can see, my son's on the team, the NYPD team. So, and that's Nassau County, correct? Elmont, New York?
Yes, it is.
Okay, will you be at the game Saturday?
I probably will. I was there last year. I haven't checked my schedule today for Saturday. I pretty much live day to day. Things come up every day. As I like to say in this business, it's a bad surprise every day. And speaking of bad surprises, I just want to offer my condolences to the people of Syracuse and Onondaga County, upstate New York, on the loss of their Syracuse police officer and Onondaga deputy sheriff, both who were killed in the line of duty last night. I send my sincere condolences. Too many cops are getting shot. Too many are getting killed, and we have a real epidemic here in the United States, and it's because of the atmosphere of lawlessness. And I think that we have to turn things around. It all emanates from that defund the police movement and all the riots that were throughout the United States, where people feel like they can kill police officers, and we can't stand for that.
Oh, absolutely not.
How about the release of all these cop killers by our former governor, the parole board that he appointed? 37 over the last few years. 37 cop killers released. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's just disgraceful. It is so senseless. And the fact that there are people who hold high elected office who are constantly trying to think of ways to make life easier for criminals, to me, is just, it's evil. This is a fight of good versus evil. Good people are law-abiding citizens, are law enforcement, people who respect law and order, and people who commit crimes are bad people. They're evil people. And the fact that we have lawmakers and elected officials that are constantly fighting for the rights of criminals, giving them more rights than victims, I think is an absolute disgrace, and it's unpatriotic.
To me, the most egregious release of a cop killer was, I forgot his name, but he was involved with the Black Liberation Army.
That would be P. Agentini and Waverly.
Correct. Right. Now, I was a sergeant of
Agentini and Waverly Jones.
Yes, I was a sergeant of detectives at the time, and everybody in the detective bureau was involved in one way or the other. And these people were they were assassins. It wasn't like the ordinary, I shouldn't say ordinary, but like, most police killings involved the commission of a crime. So you wanted to expect it, but these were assassinations. And vicious assassinations. They were shooting up cops all over the country. And I was shocked to hear that this guy was being released.
It's an absolute disgrace. I actually know Diane P. Agentini. She was a neighbor of my sister. So I know the family very well. I know the whole story. It was an assassination. As a matter of fact, one of the police officers, I believe it was Waverly Jones, an African-American police officer, was begging for his life, and they were mocking him before they executed him. So it's beyond the realm of anything that makes any sense that the parole board would let anybody out who assassinated a police officer. We're not talking about a regular shooting, which is bad enough. We're talking about an assassination. You're absolutely right. They assassinated those two police officers just because they were police officers.
And they weren't the only ones. There were several after that. And I think that if Como decides to run for the New York City mayor, that's going to come back to bite him in the butt.
I think in the last 4 days, 10 police officers throughout the country were shot and killed
correct.
as well. I believe that's an accurate number. But Bruce Blakeman, I'd like to thank you for being our guest today.
An honor.
Thank you. I know you're a busy man, and thank you for giving us some time today. And ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Blakeman, the Nassau County Executive. Folks, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to Cop Talk. You could also follow us on Twitter at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. Until next time, be safe out there. God bless you, God bless America, and God bless law enforcement throughout the country. Thank you.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.